Hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host Stefan Burns today, joined by Brent with 4RBEES, the manufacturer and creator of a magnet here, which has sacred geometry principles built into it. And this specifically you designed for helping bee colonies to rebound in face of all the pressures that they're dealing with, cellular communication like 5G, neonicotinoids and pesticides and environmental loss and all this. And if we don't have our pollinators, obviously it's very, very bad. And I wanted to have you on because you guys gifted me this PureWave, like, I don't know, I guess it's almost a year ago now because we met at
Yeah,
Cosmic
yeah.
Summit. And I am not one really to promote other people's products unless I really like them. And I've been using this on and off, not every single day, but it's taken me about a year to be like, okay, I really like this thing. I think this really could be beneficial and helpful to people. And then also your story about just what you've been doing as relates to helping bees out and some of the scientific data you have, like proven scientific data as a result of measuring before and after with bees is really fascinating. So hello and welcome. Happy to have you on.
Thank you, Stefan. And what I really want to do is thank you for having me on and allowing me to talk to your audience. This is a real gift for us to get this information out. So we're really grateful. Thank you for that. Yes, we are full into the mission of the 4RBEES and the PureWave cell. Now we did the 3-year study, and now it has been published out of UK. Bioelectromagnetic science, and now is confirmed of what it's doing to the bees and how it's effectively building their immune systems up. And if you build the immune systems up, everything else happens, all the honey production, the recreation and everything. And so it's marvelous. And we have beekeepers all over the world now, all coming from the same place. And so hopefully we'll tie into a lot of that as we go along. But it is performing magnificently.
That's great to hear. And yeah, I'll link that research paper in the video description as well as your website. And there'll be a link, everybody, if you're interested in this by the end. No pressure, do what you want. It's subtle, for me at least, it's subtle. Some people will probably be less subtle, like ultra sensitive people. It may really help them quickly. But it's certainly, I've found to be nice. And just, it's putting out a coherent, that's the thing, it's a coherent magnetic field where there's so much non-coherence and noise and kind of chaos being generated by all these man-made but not conscious electromagnetic fields all around us like cellular and such. So just quickly, if you could give us just a brief synopsis of kind of how you got here. And you were talking about being in finance and how your work with math and algorithms, everything kind of led you there. It's really interesting. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I will do that. Yeah, my background is in forensic mathematics. So I was involved in the very early days in banking for constructing the digital algorithms for moving money around. So we're talking early 90s. And what that allowed me to do is I was working with all the structures of how we were going to do that. But what really started to become apparent to me as I was diving into these algorithms and dealing with the actually the geometry of the math is I became very aware of a thing called sacred geometry. For lack of a better term, that's the one that's recognized. And so I started to see these forms, not only in what I was doing, but in nature itself, like whether it be snowflakes, spider webs, beehives, and it's in all religious aspects, which we can talk about later. And then that fascinated me on a hobby level while I was involved in building up the banking systems. And then when I was fortunate enough, as I got older and exited out in 208, I was at the stage of my life where I wanted to pursue my passion, which was the geometry. And that's when I started to really figure out what these shapes could do at a cellular level for us and on a health level on energetic medicine. So I went heavily into research and constructing from about 208, 209, and spent the next 5 years researching and studying the effects, not the study of geometry, but the effects of the geometry on us as a cellular organizing. And not only that is, but insects, reptiles, plants, and it worked across the board. And so I'm speeding up, but that's where it started to become effect. And I built a lab that I was able to block out all interferences, and I could do my testing and research. And as you said, we now have published our research. We're past where we know that this works very effectively, and we have beekeepers all over the world. But for people, what the byproduct is for us, it is working amazingly well for human health as well, to deal with circulation, to deal with blocking out interferences, also to deal with cleaning your food and water and so forth. This is really integrated into people's lives, as well as their pets, as well as plants. So it's across the board. But beekeepers, we focused in on to get our research and do our mission, because that's where the problem was. Where would the declining population of the bees.
Yeah, as you said earlier, canary in the coal mine, and we're also feeling this. Is just in some aspects, just because we're bigger, we can kind of build up more load. It's like how DDT worked through the ecosystem, and now they're still dealing with DDT with bald eagles because they're eating the fish. And even though it was outlawed in '72, it's like these bald eagles are still ingesting DDT through the fish, creating weak eggshells. So they sit on the egg, and the eggs collapse. They break, and then they kill their young. So there's all these downstream effects of what these crazy things that we've done. And I love how this is a project born out of passion, because there are a lot of health and wellness tools, or just in general, a lot of things, but if we use health and wellness as the category, that aren't born out of passion. It's really like, oh, well, how do I just make some money? And those are the ones that don't really work. Those are kind of like they're this, when it's born out of passion and a genuine desire to help people, or in this case, people and bees and the environment overall, just something greater than yourself. That's when you tap into this larger energy field, this benevolent, just kind of field that wants to make these things happen and to help people. We do have these good forces out there that want to help us. And so it's great to hear that, because there's a lot of these things that are pushed and heavily marketed, and may do the opposite. They may hurt you or harm you. And I notice the effect of the Pure Cell as being pretty subtle, but that's one reason I like it. It's not this overwhelming force, A, and B, if you have one, let's say, it just over time imprints and improves like your energy field with more coherent frequency, and it just creates a better order and structure to things, it seems. So how does that relate? Like we know that that's how this works, right? There's so much out there, thousands of years of science and research now and history. But if we drill into the bees specifically, what have you guys seen? How does it help the bees? And there's a lot of people that have, bee colonies, beehives. Like, how does this help them? What can they do if they're interested in that?
Okay, yeah. First of all, so our mission is we give everything to the beekeepers at no charge. We don't sell anything to beekeepers. That's important to understand here. I started this mission base not to sell to beekeepers. In order to really affect and help to save the bees, you have to save the beekeepers. They control about 96% of all bees. So financially, I want to support them. So everything we do, which is food sources like seeds, the PureWave cells, bee replacement, we give all of that at no charge to the beekeepers. They apply as a beekeeper. We approve them. We send this out to them, and we have hundreds and hundreds of beekeepers all over the world. But why we wanted to do that is then we could effectively get them out into there, and it's the public, such as we're talking to now, through purchases of our products and honey, that they support, that we send that money out to the beekeepers and therefore make that mission change. So I wanted to make that clear. We do not sell PureWave cells to the beekeepers. We have at least over 7,000 that we have put to individual people, because they picked up on the health. So back to what you were saying a little bit. First of all, I think your audience is the same as you. Everything is frequency. So that's where I started. Everything was frequency. It's how do we use it? I didn't want to become an expert on frequency. I wanted to find specific reasons that a frequency could help, and at a cellular level. We live in a world now of health, of chemistry. It's chemistry that we live in. It wasn't too long ago that they used to cut you open to find out what was wrong with you. They called that exploratory surgery. They don't do that anymore. They use frequency medicine. MRI, CAT scans, ultrasound. That's how they diagnose. But then how do they treat? They go right back to chemicals, pharmaceuticals, with all the side effects. Physics is where it's at. That's how we diagnose, is with physics now. We need to treat with physics. Same thing, frequency to frequency. And so that's where I went. That's how it went. I started in with that because that was the answer. Because then you don't get the side effects. And that's where you can go and affect the cell without a side effect. So the PureWave cell, as you've stated, is having it around. It doesn't fix anything. What it does is it stops the interferences that are hurting us. We're bombarded by these interferences. So what it does is allow the body to do what it does, fix itself. The body knows how to fix itself, but we just stop it all the time. We're either through our food sources, our environment, and the drugs we're taking. So the body's constantly battling that. That's what it's doing. What the PureWave cell is relieves some of that battle. That's the best way to explain it. And here's how we do it. You and I both have these headphones on. If I want to cancel one sound out, I can do it with another frequency because all they are is frequency. Same as with health. If you want to take, what is a virus? What is a pathogen? What is a parasite? They're just frequencies. So if we know how to counter or neuter or neutralize, that's what we want to do. So I sent the PureWave cell to a food lab called Pathogenia, specifically for food, because when we buy food, there's all kinds of pathogens in there. E. coli, Staphylococcus, Listeria, stuff like that. So I had it tested. And we have a whole video on this where we had it tested for 5 minutes, where it was had these pathogens in it. Went on the PureWave cell for 5 minutes, and it neutralized between 60 and 100% of those pathogens, so they're not going in the body. It simply just neutralized it. Didn't kill it. It just blocked it out because that's what it is. It's a frequency. So it's fascinating. Once you start understanding how you can use frequency, music is frequency, food is frequency. So how some food not good for us, some food great for us. Some people like certain music and they don't like other music. It's just frequency. So we want to use how can benefit ourselves. And I just discovered through the geometry, and we can talk another show on that, how I found out that geometry was everywhere and why it was so important. And it leads us to physics, quantum physics, actually. And therefore we could use it in a big way. And the bees were the canary in the coal mine that I was made aware of. I didn't originally, I had nothing to do with bees, but I was made aware of it in 2015 that there was such a decline, which then led me to understand this is where I need to go and start. And I dove into that, and it was difficult to get beekeepers on board in the beginning. But once I did, the results were just outstanding. And then I started to pursue that. And then I started 4RBEES 4 years ago as a mission-based. This is what we're talking about, so that I can now change that environment out there through the beekeepers with the help of the public.
Yeah, it's really, really fascinating. When I was at Cosmic Summit and I met you guys and got the PureWave, also you guys gave me a bottle of that super energized honey, and that was really good. And honey is so fascinating because it has all these unique antimicrobial properties and effectively lasts forever. So there are like these certain windows that take you, they help you see the true nature of reality in the universe a little bit more than others, let's say. And bees are so intelligent, and what they're doing is very in resonance with the earth and the universe as a whole, I would say. Like they are one of these kind of portals into that. And so you can literally just taste it in the honey. It was exceptional. It's gone now.
Yeah.
It only lasts like a week. But
Yeah, I remember
the PureWave still exists. And in general, so can you tell us a little bit about so beekeeper, and that's awesome that, by the way, that you guys are giving these out to beekeepers who apply. That's incredible. I'd love to hear that. So does a beekeeper like put this in the hive, put it below the hive, put one per hive? What are some of the details of that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, that's great, great. And again, we can have some visuals for you, and you can actually, if you like, hear from our beekeepers and actually watch what they're doing, if you like. What happens is usually on beehives, there's a runner at the bottom where the bees are coming in and out when they're foraging, so they're coming in and out of the hive. And we place the PureWave cell in that runner so that the bees are constantly in contact, coming and going with the cell, constantly. And what it does over time, it builds up their immune system. So we're not, the bees are still exposed to the pesticide. They're still exposed to the 5G when they go out there. And we're not changing the environment. But what we're doing is we're making them stronger to withstand it. So that when they come back into the hive, they're stronger, and it helps them to withstand that, as well as what's called a varroa mite. It's like a little mite that feeds on them. It's one of the biggest problems, but it only feeds on weakened bees. It's the same with us. When we are weakened in our own homes, we pick up flus, colds, and you'll notice some people get it a lot more than others and are sickly more often. That's a weakened immune system. You'll meet other people that they're superly charged and they don't get sick at all, like for years. And it's simply they're exposed to the same things, but they're built up stronger to withstand it. So that's the idea. And that was what we're doing with the PureWave cell. So what you're showing is something that's at a cellular level because of the frequency. And again, there's a lot more to talk about with that, how it works. But what we effectively do is we build up the immune system of the bees, and that's proven through our 3-year study that's published now. So that's not a question. And then that's why when you had that honey, we only purchase the honey from the beekeepers at fair market value, like higher value, because it comes from those hives that have the PureWave cell in it, and then we supercharge it, and we have this amazing honey that we sell. We sell it by the case, like every day, all over the states and Canada, in large volume because of how quality. And it's non-heated, so it doesn't lose any enzymes. It's creamed. You had it, and yes, and of course, honey has great properties anyway. This is just a superior because it's coming from very healthy bees and area. So that's how that was a byproduct of what we were doing. Like I said, I wasn't interested in becoming an expert on frequency. There's wonderful people that are available for that, and as well as sacred geometry. Where I want to focus is because I come from a business background, I wanted results. I'm very result oriented. So I want to know a frequency that I'm dealing with does this, or it does that, or it affects this. And then I was pleasantly surprised that it is the answer in the health world. It is where we have to go. It is the things that will get us away from pharmaceuticals and drugs. It is the thing that will get us to the point where we can withstand different virals that are coming in or different flus down the road, because it's the thing from nature, because nature always wins. Nature will we mostly we go against nature. Everything we're doing technically, mostly you and I, what we're doing right now, this algorithm works perfect for communication. It's amazing, but it's not great health wise, not great for our cells. That's not what it's designed for. So one thing is augmented by another thing, and I'm interested in healthy cells, and that's what I focused on.
Yeah, I mean, at least I'm running through Ethernet, and I have wired headphones, and I have a wired mouse. So I'm doing the
Yep.
best I can, but still the computer is pumping out EMFs and everything, and yeah, it's good to
Yeah.
limit the exposure and such.
Well,
Speaking,
Stefan, on that note, that's why when I started in 208, I turned into my early 50s. So I realized at that time, if I didn't pursue this, I'd run out of time. This was my passion. But I'm 70 now. So at 70, this is where the health matters more than anything. Health is the number one. It beats anything. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. There's nothing that's more important. So that was my passion, whether it's for the bees, because that's for our own survival, that's for our children, but also my own health. I use these things and these frequencies in my own life. I Doctors, whenever I do anything and going on health, they're always the first question they see is they go, "You're not on any meds or any medications." And I said, "Why do you ask that? Is that?" And they said, "Well, it's highly unusual. You're not on any medications." Well, why would I be? Why would I be on medications? Like continual meds, right? So
Yeah.
so that's where the frequency comes in. Huh?
Do you have any? I'm just imagining you as a genius mad scientist, like you have an entire bed of pure cells laid out, and you sleep on that every night or something. Like, do you have any larger? Do you have any other things besides just the PureWave? Or is
Well,
it this is
no,
this is the guy? I know you have the huge
it's
rotating cylinders for the honey.
Yeah, the PureWave cell actually comes out of a larger mother instrument that's known as the chrysalis energizer. It's like a little Ark of the Covenant. It has spinning cylinders that have 310 of those magnets in it in a three-dimensional, and I can change frequencies at will. Those results is what led, because you couldn't get that to people, whereas the PureWave cell, I could get it in the hives and so forth. We can talk again on down that. That instrument has taken allergies away, has changed sight, hearing, all kinds of things. But I didn't go down that path because as a corporate person, I didn't want the battles of other corporations. The more successful I got on human health, the more problematic I would have. So I went the B route, and it ended up coming right circle back. So it was a great thing for me to do, because I don't interfere with the medical world where they're not in tune with what I would want to do. But it's in my life, and people in our circles, it's in our life, and it's for our health, and it's amazing. But I don't tout that, because I'm touting what we're doing with the bees, because people can make that connection, and at a simpler cost they can enter it into their life. So that's where that's where I saw it would have benefit.
Well, I like that because it's more decentralized. I mean, certainly having some, I'm imagining like this rotating multi pure wave contraption. I mean, that sounds crazy and great, but decentralizing this technology, I think, is wonderful because, I mean, everyone knows that if you're in a busy, busy city and you go out and take a hike in the forest, right? There's no giant rotating contraption there, but you feel like $1,000,000 afterwards, or at least you should. And so there is this aspect of subtle energies can have profound effects, especially when you are very consciously engaging with them. I mean, grounding is a fantastic example of this. I did it right before our talk, and I went out to the park nearby, put my feet on the grass, even just for 5 minutes, did some stretching, and then walked back. And super low tech. The electrical current flow between the body and the earth is quite minor, but still significant. Helps to balance the energy of just kind of the entire system in the biofield. But over time has profound effects. So there's this, it's a little bit of an American mindset that everything needs to be big and the best or whatever. It's like, that's why I used this thing for a year to really make sure that there was something to it. And you said it was what, 45,000 Gauss in strength? Is that correct?
48,000.
Okay.
Yeah, it's each magnet is around 20 just around the 2,000 Gauss mark, each magnet. And so when there's 12 of them in there, so you do the math onto that, and that's where you're getting that 48,000 Gauss strength, and that's measured, and it's measured up to 12 inches in circumference of the pure wave cell. Then it starts to dissipate. It loses its strength. So you need to keep it close to the body, like within 12 inches, and the contact with the bees. We have health practitioners for gut health on the stomach. I mean, there's so many things that we have that the PureWave cell really helps with. But the strength is in those neodymium magnets, and so that's why we pick those, and that's the strength of pull that we have. And if I didn't bond those magnets down into the pockets, they would snap your finger, literally apart. They're just so incredibly powerful. So what I do is I hold them in play in this form. I hold them and lock them. So they're doing this all the time. They want to come together like you can't believe. And then that causes the frequency, and it causes it, and I lock it in, and then it's consistent. It's held. And so all you got to do is keep it in contact. And the cells, like the little batteries they are for not just us, but all animals, it responds to that energy. And here's how we know. This is why I was so excited. When they first sent astronauts in from the States into space in the 50s, what happened is the whole bodies of the astronauts went into ache mode. They realized that they were outside what was called pulse electric magnetic frequency of the Earth, what you were talking about in the forest. And that's caused by the geomagnetic magma in the Earth and Schumann frequency, which is lightning strikes. Because the lightning strike, I don't know if people know this, it strikes the Earth 25 million times a day. And it mixes to form what's called pulse electric magnetic frequency, PEMF. And NASA did super studies on it, is how it affects the body. That's why, 0 to 30 hertz, but the Earth frequency is around 7 hertz, 7.2. And when you go into it, that's why it feels so good. The cells respond, or you're on grass with your bare feet. That's the energy that you're getting. So that's where I followed. That was the portal in to replicate how that works. So the PureWave cell is in that frequency mode, that very low, the very low, low, low. It's not high. It's in that under 7 hertz. And that's what the body wants. That's what we get in nature. Again, it's back to nature.
Yeah, it's just a nice coherent magnetic field that is emitted. And I mean, for example, right now I'm holding this, but I could also put it on the desk in front of me in between the laptop and I. It's creating a bit of a magnetic shield from the EMFs of the laptop. Now, again, as I mentioned, I don't have my Wi-Fi on. I'm running Ethernet. So it's just simply the electric field being generated by the laptop being on. But putting this there while I work is beneficial for just kind of screening that and filtering that. Or I recently, I was at the gym and I just went probably a little too hard on deadlifts and I was feeling my back just a little bit. I just took this and I slipped it into my backpack such that it was right up against my back, in the backpack, but right up against my low back. And that was great in terms of just, having a coherent kind of energy field that can just help optimize the healing and recovery process. And it wasn't any crazy work. I didn't have to hook up with some gizmo or anything like that. Or I'm walking around with an ice pack and it's falling off. It's just simply in the backpack. So there's a lot of ways to use this intelligently. I wanted to discover personally what are some very easy but smart ways that I can use effectively this magnetic puck, because you've just designed a giant magnet, giant magnetic field. Earth's magnetic field, for reference, is about 0.45 Gauss on average. It ranges from 0.22 to 0.67. So 0.45, this is 45,000. So it's a lot stronger, but of course Earth's magnetic field maintains its strength across the entire Earth. This isn't affecting someone in China. But right in the local area, it can have a profound influence on cellular voltage gradients and proteins. They have their dipole effectively, so they have a positive and a negative, and water, of course, is polar. So you're influencing fascia and bones with their bioelectric currents and all this stuff. DNA is a fractal antenna. We have so much information on bioelectricity that you have to know there's something there. And what I also like about this is that while we don't know everything, there are kind of like a first principle is that generally, though you may not know the exact specific science for something yet, if the results are there, it's doing something. And so I don't need to know, a really easy example, I don't need to know the exact science of how going to a gym and doing these eccentric for a bicep curl and then a fast concentric triggers 33% more muscle growth or something. But everyone knows that if you go to the gym and you pick up some weights and do progressive overload, you're going to build some muscle. But you don't have to actually know the science behind it, but you see the results. It's the same here. There's so much more that we are still learning about this. That's why I love the fact that you guys did that research and published it. And that's linked in the video description, your website too. But we see the results. So we know there's some really powerful benefits to at least just having something like this in your possession. You can travel with it. This probably helps with jet lag. A whole bunch of things to experiment with. And yeah, and Lisa's saying your beekeepers are submitting new findings every single month. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, just before that, I want to clarify something. The strength is each magnet, because I said earlier, each magnet in that PureWave cell is 4,000 Gauss. So combined, it's 48,000. So that's 12 times 4. That's what the strength is in there. Just so that people that were following, we were talking about different things. That is it. That is exactly each petal in there is 4,000 Gauss, and that's all right from the where I get it from, developed. That's all measured and so forth. That's number one. I'd also like to recommend for you to sit on it. In other words, put a cushion under, like in other words, have a cushion, but while you're doing stuff and everything, just forget about it. Just sit on it. Just sit on it. I do that all the time. It's up your back. You won't even feel it. Also, you can sleep with it under your pillow. It's amazing. You can put it in your fridge because you're bringing meat and fish and stuff, and you can you can put it on a plate, and it goes right through the plate. Like it's like you don't have to. When you go into a restaurant, you have no idea what's back in those kitchens that's coming out of the restaurant. You have no idea. So it doesn't matter. You get it, put your plate on it, boom, away you go. That's another element. If you move the cell on your arm, if you make it in motion, now it takes it up into it takes it into a motion, which is called PEMF, circulation. And this is all studied by NASA. It's not even my study. It's so documented as to what that'll do for you. And then, of course, we have practitioners that deal with gut health, which is pathogens or parasites in the gut. They pick it up from their pets or whatever. And when on a gut level and stuff like that, it affects that as well. So there's so many uses. It goes on and on and on. Anyway, I just want to say that because then that way people can see the benefit of what it can do for them. Now, back to the bees.
I've done some
Yes,
of those, by the
we have.
way. So I've experimented with
Yeah,
doing this for my elbow because yeah, if you move it, now it's pulse. And then I've also spent some time just exactly as you said, sitting on it and letting it flow through kind of this way. And but I'll have to start
yeah,
experimenting with it as it relates to food, both food I'm buying and at a restaurant. So that's really
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. Because it's another benefit. And remember, this is good for 20 years. It's not like it wears out next year. You got to buy, it's good and it's indestructible, really.
Yeah.
Um, um, and people have now they've written in that their pets steal it. They don't know where it went, but all of a sudden it's under their dog's bed. We had a gal that's in bird rescue that from New Mexico, and she asked us to send her some cells, and we have all kinds of content on her healing roadrunners and sparrows with it, and the nest on top of it. I mean, it goes on and on and on, right? So these are the things. But with beekeepers, I think the question was we get also kinds of content of what they're doing with it, and
But it
what
can
we're
just be
getting
in
back.
general, just in general. Some because
Yeah,
I believe in sourcing info from the community, and though it may be
yeah,
anecdotal, when there's this overwhelming surge of information and like case
yeah,
studies and such, like it's
yeah.
on you can't ignore it.
Yes. Well, so some of the things beekeepers that we've had for 3 years now, they've gone from 60, 70% bee loss to then 30%, and then last year no bee loss. So last year, this is really important. The average was about a 60 to 70 bee loss in the beekeeper world. Our hives, because we only are in, thousands of hives, we're not in millions of hives. Our bee loss was in the 10% range. So all we have to do is get in more beehives. That's what it is, because like the more we get in, the reduction will start coming down, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're handing out, and we're looking for a campaign this year where I want to get 50,000 cells out. I want to get them in thousands of hives, and then we're dealing with billions of bees. It's all numbers, right? It's phenomenal. But we get beekeepers sending us really cool stuff that we'd love to show you sometime, where they get creative. Instead of putting it on the runner, they put it on the slides, like the chambers going down into the hive. And so this beekeeper, he cut out the exact replica where he put the cell into it and sunk it down into the hive. And he and his wife were looking at this, so they filmed this and sent it to us, and they sent it down. And as soon as it was locked down, all the bees in the top, they came in, gathered in, and formed the frequency of the cell immediately. They came in and they did it all on their own. The whole pattern came in. right live on filming, and they were like, "Look at this!" And they literally, it's the shape of the PureWave cell. It's like they came in. There's no disputing it. They picked up on the vibe and came in. So it's cool stuff like that we
So they
get
formed like
right
a
from the
hexagon.
beehive. Yeah,
They
yeah.
formed a hexagon, and of course that's what
They formed the
honeycomb
hexagon
is.
on the top of the hive, on the top of the hive. So it was just mind blowing because of what they did there. They always congregate around it. If the bees are anywhere, they're on the PureWave cell. They're in there. They're on it. They're around. And here's the biggie: bees will put what's called a propolis. If they don't like something in the hive, like a dead mouse or something, what they'll do is mummify it in a propolis, waxy material, and and then eliminate it. They don't put a thing on the PureWave cell, not a drop of anything. They don't touch it. It's part of their world, right? They just work, they're on top of it, and it blows the beekeepers away when they see it. And then, of course, they give us all different results: the production of honey, greater honey, the production of how the bees are operating, how they're coming, and they compare the hives without it and with it all the time. So they'll put it in some hives and then not in others, and then they give us and it's dynamic, the difference, right?
So we're getting that testing not only with a single beekeeper or a few doing their own internal A/B testing, but then of course there's a larger A/B test between people who aren't using these PureWaves and beekeepers that are. And both of them are basically matching up and telling the same story. So that's really fascinating. Well, we'll have a bunch of information in the video description for people to learn more if they want to continue exploring into this, as well as a link to the PureWave if you're interested in picking one up yourself. I guess my discount code will be just my name, Stefan Burns. So if you want to use the code Stefan Burns, all one word, STEFANBURNS, I think that's like what, 20% off? Is that right?
Yeah, we wanted to give your audience a really good discount off it so that they could, and because we're so grateful for them to come on. And remember, when they're doing that purchase of support, that's going directly to the bees. We take that money and then we go out and give the cells that you're all experiencing. We give those to the beekeepers at no charge, so that they're effectively getting that job done out there with the bees as well. So it's a win-win. It both is coming in here. And so that's exactly right. And we wanted to give that to you so that you could pass that on for them.
Okay, cool. And then, yeah, links to you guys as well. And I guess, we could talk a lot longer, but I wanted to keep this a little more focused. But is there any final thing that you want to share? It can be any, across the board, just anything. Is there something that you would like to present to the audience, share, just get them, get it out there? It's important.
Okay. Well, I'd like to share what I discovered. What I discovered is that, remember we talked about we have so much interference, out there in our lives and so forth, and that affects our health because it does. Once you calm yourself down, in other words, you get those distractions away from yourself, and you start to pay attention to how nature works and start to look at it. In other words, once you're calm, you then are an observer because you have that ability. And you'll find out that no matter what anxieties you're all experiencing, whether it's political or the world or whatever is going on, or how bad that we're all, we're destroying the planet, is that I want you to understand that nature always wins. It will balance it. You will not beat it. I'm telling you from looking at nature, and once you look at it, it will give the solutions for us. It's there to help us, but we need to pay attention, and we need to quit going against nature. We need to work with it. The more we work with nature, the more that our lives become better. All the animals and insects, everything around us, our energy, how we feel. So I just wanted to put that out. Gave that to me in my life simply by understanding that nature is an amazing thing, and it has the answers to most things we're looking for.
And if you are interested in picking one up, and I don't blame you, just because there's another thing, whatever, like at a minimum, folks, try to go out there, pick up some wildflower seeds, either on your own land or do some guerrilla gardening, plant some flowers, plant something, make the world a better place. Thank you all so much for watching, everybody. Thank you, Brent, for joining on. This has been a pleasure. And again, much more info, links, videos, everything in the video description. Thank you all. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you.